Hi guys, my name is PLAB2 and you're welcome to my YouTube channel. So I'm not with nobody, cause I don't wanna hurt nobody. Did it over text, didn't call me. Hello. If you're new here, hi, what's up? If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for the likes, comments, and for sharing my videos with others. I really do appreciate it. Now, this video is going to be a follow-up from the previous video on how to pass PLAB2. Please check it out if you haven't. I'll really appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up and come right back to this video, okay? Someone requested a guide on how to prepare for PLAB2 from scratch, and that's why I'm making this video. So I'm just going to go through some steps to the best of my knowledge on how to be able to prepare for this exam without no knowledge of the exam, or you just passed PLAB1 and you're just looking forward to start. Okay, I'll be using from my own experience as well, because after passing PLAB1, I had no idea what PLAB2 was. I was taking my own one step at a time. When it got to IELTS, I did IELTS. When it got to PLAB1, I did PLAB1, and then PLAB2, I did PLAB2. So I had no idea. I just took my time and, went into it with no clue what to expect. Okay, so I'll just share some tips from what I learned from my experience and those of other people that I have interacted with. Okay, so I hope this helps. This is by no means the law. All right, you can also go ahead and do a lot of research on your own, watch other videos as well. Okay, so let's dive into it. Now, the first thing I will always say is know the structure of the exam. So that is always my step one. Know the structure of the exam, familiarize yourself with the format of the exam, and like I mentioned in my previous video, PLAB2 is an OSCE type exam that has 18 stations with 16 active stations and 2 rest stations. Now the stations vary. You have various clinical scenarios, seaman station, examination stations, prescription stations, and many more. So find out what the exam entails, the type of stations, what they expect you to cover. A lot of this can be found on the GMC website, so please do well to read that first. Don't put any pressure on yourself. Like I said, you can even wait until you've done this part before booking a date for the exam. Okay, so this is the intro phase of your preparation. Know what you're preparing for. If you don't know what you're preparing for, there's no way you're going to prepare. Okay, so that is your step one. Now, step two will be laying a foundation. Remember, we're talking about from scratch. You don't know anything. Like, you don't know what to do, you don't know where to start from. Okay, so now after you've found out what the exam is about, what the stations are like and stuff, lay a foundation. So this would involve gathering information, gathering materials, resources that you can use for your preparation. So I will still revert back to the GMC website, so please read Good Medical Practice. It's available on the GMC website for you to read, and there's also a syllabus for the PLAB2 exam that you can find there. So it gives you like a guide on what to expect and what is expected of you in the exam. So I would advise start from there. They've provided these materials for you to access, so go to GMC website and access those materials. So that's a very, very good place to start. Another thing is to gather materials. So ask your friends, ask your colleagues, people that you know are preparing for the exam. Join WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, Telegram groups, whichever group of people that are preparing for PLAB, and you get enough, lots of materials. I know I have benefited from some of the materials that were going around on tips, tricks, and the likes. Another thing while laying your foundation is to decide whether or not you are going to do an academy. Now this is the point. You should make that decision. Decide that you want to do an academy early on, especially when you are laying a foundation for your preparation. The first point of call for my own preparation, I kind of skipped the first step, was an academy. So the academy was my first point of call when I was preparing for my own PLAB2. So it's a very, very good place to start if you are just, you're too lazy to do anything else, because they give you an introduction to PLAB, give you access to these materials and many other benefits. So if you are going to start early, you should decide early too that you want to do an academy or not. Okay, if you're not going to do an academy, you can, work on gathering materials elsewhere, taking advantage of the WhatsApp groups and whatnot, as the case may be. Okay, so that's about laying a foundation and getting access to resources. Now, the next step would be to create your own study plan. Now, everybody's different, like I will always say, so make sure that your study plan is created to you, to your needs. Okay, now break it down to weeks, days, hours if possible, okay, and work with that. Now you can divide what you decide to do into like department by department. So you can say, oh, I'm going to sort out medicine this week, or surgery, I'm going to focus on ophthalmology cases, or ENT. You can use that to break it down into weeks. Then you can also use station by station according to the stations of the exam to plan. So you can say, okay, I'm going to take Seaman stations this week, I'm going to learn prescription stations next week, whichever one works for you. Okay, but I would strongly advise you don't go symptom by symptom. That will waste your time. It takes a lot of time to go through all the possible causes of cough, all the possible causes of headache. You are going to spend so much time. Okay, so while you prepare, make sure that you put it in your study plan that you are going to touch most of all the stations or the departments or sections or systems round. Don't just focus on one and be stuck there that I have to finish this one before moving on to the next one. I don't advise that. So please touch everything round so that you have an idea of everything. Keep going round and round until your exam day. Okay, so have study plan. It's very important. Now factor in rest time, leisure time, church services, and unforeseen occurrences like somebody falling sick or you taking on an extra shift at work or something. Factor those things in, please. Okay, so that you won't end up being inconsistent. All right, so it will help with your consistency if you make your study plan a bit flexible and you try to keep up with it. Now start with small goals. Don't just start and say, I'm finishing the whole of ophthalmology today, the whole of ENT tomorrow, and when you don't meet up you get discouraged. So start small. Start with 2, 3, 4, and then you move up like that, and then you can improve while you prepare. Okay, PLAB2 is not a theory exam, but it's good to brush up on your theory. Learn the basics. You already know these things, it's just going to be revision. So learn the basics, some of the things that you should brush up on, your strengths and weaknesses. So those are the things you should work on while you prepare, and you should factor those things into your study plan as well. Now the next step will be clinical skills. Clinical skills are very important in PLAB2. Okay, so they are watching you on your skills, interpersonal skills and clinical skills. So what I did personally was to watch YouTube videos on examinations and procedures that I don't know how to do, or I may have forgotten, and I will just need some, a refresher. So that's also where the academy comes in, because they can show you how to do these procedures and the examinations, and you can then go ahead and practice on your own. Okay, so start by watching YouTube videos, or watching whatever your academy makes available for you. Very, very important. And then you can now go ahead and practice, because it's called a skill. There's no way you can prepare or refine your skills without practicing. Okay, so factor those things into your study plan as well, and practice. I'm sure I sing it all the time. Practice, practice, practice. Okay, that's like one of the best ways to sharpen your clinical skills. There's one thing to know how it's done, there's another thing to actually do it. Okay, that's it about clinical skills. It's not just clinical skills, so procedures, examinations, learn those ones. Then work on your interpersonal skills, how to show empathy. Are you really listening to what they are saying? Work on those things. Build up your vocabulary in that part as well. Look for words that you can use to show empathy, words that you can use to break bad news, words that you can use to counsel someone without sounding like you're scolding the person. Okay, so those are the little things that you should try and inculcate when you're practicing and sharpening your skills. Okay, so add that in your skills preparation segment. Okay, my 5th tip will be do some self-assessment. peer assessment, and take mocks. You can assess yourself from the first time you started practicing till, you know, your present practicing. Like, what's the difference? Have you improved? Those areas that you were trying to work on, have you been able to sort them out? You can do that for yourself. You can also ask your friends and people you have been practicing with to tell you, okay, how am I now compared to before? Have I improved? Is it better? You can also do that. Okay, then you can take advantage of mocks provided by Academy. Please do at least 2 mocks, and make sure one of those mocks is a physical mock. Okay, now take advantage of the mocks to, you know, and get feedback so that you can work on those feedback. So this is like the final part of your preparation. You've read, you've practiced, and you're just trying to check to see how far you've come, okay, and how ready you are for the exam. All right, now on a general note, some general tips I would like to share include: 1, do an academy if it's what works for you, okay, and decide early if that's what you want to do. 2, start your preparation early. Make sure you have all your requirements on lockdown, you know, visa, accommodation, feeding, flights, everything, and your finances. Make sure you have everything on lock if you are preparing to take the PLAB2 exam. Okay, then if you're attending an academy, make sure you attend at least 2 months before you take your exam. Don't wait until your exam is next month or before you do an academy. Please do an academy early. That way you can now, you know, practice what you've learned. You can now do your mocks. Okay, now like I mentioned, do at least 2 mocks. One should be physical mock, and the other can be online if you want, and you can do more than 2 if that's what you want. No hard and fast rule. Okay, and then that brings me to the next one, which is when you are coming to the UK, because you can only take the exam in the UK. When you are coming, please come early, at least 3 weeks before your exam, so that you have time to do your physical mock, practice, you know, use mannequins to practice and all that. You can only do that when you're here in the UK. If you attend an academy somewhere like Lagos and they have, you know, mannequins, that's fine and good, but coming here and having a feel of it, and also hearing the people around talk in their accents, will also give you sort of like an edge that, you know, for the exam, I think. Then the other tips I have is just about you personally. Please take care of yourself. You would hate to fall sick just before your exam or during your exam. Then you just free up some time to take care of yourself. Self-care, very important. Stay healthy, eat well for the exam. Don't compare yourself with other people. Everybody is different. Because Mr. A is doing 4 hours of reading and you are doing 1 hour, that doesn't mean he's better than you. Okay, just focus on your own journey and do what works for you. Okay, last but not least, be persistent, be consistent, and be patient. Pray, and, you know, pray that everything works out. Okay, if you put in the work, God will reward your efforts. Okay, so these are my little nuggets of wisdom. I hope you found value in this video. If you did, kindly give it a thumbs up and drop any questions you have in the comment section, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much for staying to the end. I'll see you guys in my next video.